Hello, viewers. So, today I am going to tell you about a weird problem that I faced recently. So, I was looking at this wonderful talk by Liz Rice about containers from scratch. So, this is a bit of an old talk, 2018 talk. So, she teaches how you can build something like Docker, a container runtime from scratch, but not all the features, of course, just an, an idea of how to build something like Docker. So while building this, I noticed that the code that I'm writing in Golang. So she writes this, uh, you know, du- duplicate or clone of Docker using Golang. So I was following her, talk and writing the code based on what she typed, and I noticed that my editor is showing that the code that I'm writing is wrong. So I kind of understood what was going on then because as you can see, I'm using VS Code and I have the Golang extension enabled over here. You can see it on the side, so it's enabled. Uh, and So I can actually go to the definition of each of these things. For example, std in. I am able to go here, and I have Go version 1.14.3. So let's see what's going on over here, right? So what's the issue in my code? So it says unknown field clone flags. Even though this code is actually correct code, I went and checked if this field does exist, and it just does exist. So I did this. So this is my search thing. So I was looking at this Golang structure called sysproc attribute. So I went here and I was looking for this package syscall, and that's the link over here. So here, if you look for sysproc attribute type, so here if you notice there is clone flags actually, and there is unshare flags also. So I didn't understand what was going wrong over here. So I even went inside this. Then next, of course, before even going here, I went inside this. Or if you just hover over here, you can see the fields in this. So there's a scroll bar on the side, and you can see the fields in this. There is no such field called clone flags or unshare flags or the other tons of fields that I can see here, like UID mappings, GID mappings. User ID, group ID. Okay, so let's go there and check, get into this and check at least. So if you notice, there are very less fields here, and if you notice the name of the file, right, I see it says exec Darwin. Okay, so Darwin refers to Mac. So I am on a Mac system. Uh, yeah, I'm on Mac OS Catalina, and so that was the differentiating part, right? So this is a syscall standard library, Golang standard library, and if you notice, this is a exec Darwin. If you go to the top of the file, you can notice that there are no operating system specific stuff over here. Okay, so but the thing is this: this file is specific to Darwin. So this file, this exec related file, is actually only specific to macOS, and the code that I'm trying to write is for Linux OS. So Golang supports writing uh, other OS and architecture programs and compiling them in a different OS. Okay, so for example, I want to build in this case want to build for Linux AMD 64. I can build in macOS AMD64. I can do that. So that's what I'm actually currently doing. I can do it, but the problem is my editor will not let me. As in, I can run in my command line go build and actually do go OS equal to Linux and do it. Maybe I can show it to you. So this is the code I have, and the main.go is over here. And if I do go build -v just like that, it's going to give me an error saying unknown field clone flags. That's because it's assuming that my OS and architecture is actually Darwin uh, and AMD64. Instead, I want you to understand that it's a Linux, it's a code that is written for Linux OS, and it just works, right? But the problem is, and it works and it runs, right? I have Docker over here, and I can just type file Docker, and so Docker as in it means the doppelganger of Docker here, the clone. So and you can see that it's a ELF and it's for Linux, right? So ELF LSB and all that. So it builds, yes, but my editor does not help me write the code. Like, how do I even know that I'm writing the right code, right? Like, for example, if I miss this S over here, and if I try to build again, it will say undefined, right? However, I'm not sure if it's really working or not because it says wrong. So the problem over here is this: my editor thinks, or my tools in the editor think that I am writing the code for macOS, which is not the case. I'm writing the code for Linux, and so I need to convey this to my tools, right? So that they can help me. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to check what kind of configuration I have in my editor to help me with this. So I went and checked VS Code, and I was looking if I can actually say my tool has to use some kind of this is the OS that I'm writing for. So Golang already has this Go OS thing, Go as environment variable. So I was looking for environment variables, right? So if I probably currently I think it uses my environment variables. Go as, so if I say go in like this, means you have to say like this. There's no environment variable set in my shell, but by default Golang knows that I'm on Darwin, right? So I can actually set the GoOS environment variable in my shell using the bash profile, but that would then set the GoOS as Linux for the whole of the system. But I am actually building this program, only this program for Linux, and probably only some programs. And I usually will try to build programs for cross-platform, mostly for Linux, Mac. Yeah, I don't usually do much of Windows here. And for production systems, yeah, of course, always it's Linux, and I don't usually write some operating system specific code, unlike this case. So I can't set it at a shell level, that is global shell in my bash profile. But if I do that, my tools, the tools in my editor will actually read that shell environment variable GoOS as Linux and do it. But if I want to do it very specific to this workspace, this project, there is this thing called you can actually provide, for example, build tags and whatnot, uh, using this thing called env vars. It's a environment variables section, and here they have mentioned that you can mention your build tags through the environment variable go flags, and I am going to use this in my workspace specific settings. So command comma is for settings. This is for the whole global user. For the specific workspace, I'll go to the JSON and I will put this here, and I'll say go OS Linux, right? And once I do this, actually I already had this in the case. Oh, so there's a comma over there. So once I do this, my problems still don't go actually. So I'm going to actually restart the editor. So I'm going to quit it and let's restart my code. And wow, voila. So as you can see, now there are no errors in my code. And if I hover over sysproc, I can actually see a lot of fields. Probably if I just do command click, it says exec Linux. So currently my tools in my editor are able to understand that it's a it's a program being written for Linux, since the Go OS is Linux. And as you can see that this file is specifically for Linux, and yep, and my and this time if I just make some mistake, I clearly know that it's a problem. So this is really a problem that it says this token or this field. I don't know what this field is, right? And this also helps me write the code because I can now just keep typing and I can see that it gives me suggestions, so I can just write it. Yeah, and if I make some mistake, I can do control space and still write it. So yep, any issues I can see read properly and not like before, and there was no issue but it was showing me red. So yep, and everything works, and as before this was always working and it still works. So all good. So now in my editor, I can actually write code for Linux. Uh, I mean, code which is specific to Linux, uh, and without any issues. Yeah. So yep, that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you.